Hello, and welcome to the Panther Sports Zone. I'm Worthington Moore.
And I'm Dorian Waller.
This week, we start off with Prairie View A&M baseball. This week, the Prairie View men's baseball team heads up to Jackson, Mississippi for the Jackson State Tournament. Our own Caleb Carter has more on that story. Caleb?
Thanks, Worthington. The baseball team had a rough go of it last weekend during the opening tournament that left some wrongs that needed to be made right. More with this video.
After a 1-2 start to the season during the Andre Dawson Classic, head baseball coach Antoine Riggins brings a little bit of perspective as to what happened.
We gave up 10 free bases a game, and you can't win games like that. We hit well. I think we was like almost number two in the nation in hitting on the first weekend out. We just couldn't put it together, pitching and defense. So we have to be better, and we're gonna be better. And we have to work hard this week, going into Jackson next week.
A sense of urgency as the Panthers look to bounce back against Jackson State after falling short last weekend 6-11. Head coach Riggins wants to make sure to focus on the little things heading back into Jackson.
Well, the mindset was to come in and clean up everything that we need to clean up with all the mistakes and stuff that we made last week. We just want to come in and clean that up and, just have an easy kill week and make sure we focus on what we need to do in order to get back on the winning streak. You know what I mean? So, like today, we're working on all the little small things that we didn't do well, and hope we can get that cleaned up and see what we can do next weekend.
A clear and focused outlook as PV looks to get back to winning baseball. This is Caleb Carter reporting for the Panther Sports Zone.
As the team looks to right the ship, they get their first chance today against Jackson State, with first pitch coming up shortly. Worthington and Dorian, back to you.
Thank you. Now on to women's tennis. The Lady Panthers unfortunately came up short in their last match. A close affair for the Lady Panthers, a singles win by Angel Santiago of Louisiana Lafayette proved the difference maker in the contest, 4-3. Falling behind early on in the doubles, the team of Victoria Castillo, Mahogany Green, and Jada Hill and Gabrielle Leslie won against their opponent with the similar scores of 7-5 to take the first point. The Raging Cajuns proceeded to take the first three singles matches before wins by Castillo and Leslie evened things up, tied 3 apiece going into the last singles game. The match on the line, Salma Villalobos couldn't pull through, splitting the first 2 frames before a crushing 6-2 locked up the win for Louisiana Lafayette and a crushing loss for our Lady Panthers. Next up for women's tennis, they match up with Stephen F. Austin Wednesday, March 3rd at the PV Tennis Courts.
Now going from tennis to men's golf. The men's golf team officially opens up their spring season when they head to Diamond Head, Mississippi for the Gulf Shores Intercollegiate Tournament on Monday, February 28th to Tuesday, March 1st. This will be the first contest for the Panthers since they last played in the 2021 Birmingham Fall Invitational, finishing 4th out of the 5-team field alongside Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Arkansas Pine Bluff, and Florida A&M. Senior Lorenzo Elbert headlines this Panthers golf team as they begin the second half of their season, looking to grab their 4th SWAC championship in a row. When we come back, we'll have more from the SWAC, HBCU draftees, and the inaugural USL expansion draft, and much more. Don't go anywhere after the break.
Welcome back to Panther Sports Zone. SWAC conference selections. So this week, the SWAC has announced its conference selections for the SWAC Indoor Championships. Held in Birmingham, Alabama, February 17th to 18th, Prairie View led the way with 16 total selections between the men and women, with Alcorn State at 8 and Jackson State with 7 selections. To round out the top 3, on the women's side, PV had 8 selections, headlined by Kazia Roberts in the 60-meter dash and long jump, and Jade Sabir, who placed top 2 for the 200 and the 400. Alcorn State wasn't too far behind with 6, spearheaded by 5 conference selections in the mile, 3,000, and the 5,000. On the men's side, PV also had 8 selections between SWAC Outstanding Track Performer Jamal Wolt and SWAC Outstanding Field Performer Nathan Crawford Wallace. Texas Southern finished 2nd overall behind Prairie View in points and selections with 5. Both men and women's coaches of the year honors went to Coach Chris Clay and Coach Angela Williams, leading the way for the SWAC Panthers to win the SWAC Indoor Championship. Congratulations, Panthers.
A little bit of sad news. The Southwestern Athletic Conference mourns the passing of NFL, SWAC, and TSU football great Kenny Burrow, a native of Jacksonville, Florida. Burrow was a standout 2-sport athlete in both football and track and field at TSU from 1967 to 1969. Burrow, who played football and ran track under head coach Clifford Paul, ranks as one of the top wide receivers in TSU history with 138 receptions, 1,912 career receiving yards, and 19 touchdowns. In 1968, Burrow was a member of a TSU team which captured a SWAC co-championship. He was also a standout sprinter and a member of several record-setting relay teams. As a result of his success on the gridiron, Burrow was drafted in the first round, 10th overall of the 1970 NFL Draft by the New Orleans Saints. After 2 seasons in New Orleans, Burrow was traded to the Houston Oilers and blossomed in his return to the city as he finished his 11-year career as a 2-time Pro Bowler while earning All-Pro honors in 1977. Burrow will also earn AFC honors in 1974 and 1977 as he led the Oilers in receiving for 7 seasons. In 1975, he led all NFL receivers in receiving yards with 1,063 receiving yards. In retirement, Burrow joined TSU as the athletic department community relations director and was also responsible for fundraising initiatives while being there at TSU, serving as a color commentator on KTSU 90.9 FM football broadcasts. Burrow was inducted into the William M. Raines High School Hall of Fame, the Black College Hall of Fame in 2016, and was also a 1977 SWAC and 1996 TSU Athletics Hall of Fame inductee.
Now, staying on the topic of football, we move on to the USFL draft. After a 36-year hiatus, the United States Football League has already gone underway, filling up their 8-team rosters with 2 days, 35-round drafts. In the event, 16 HBCU athletes were selected a part of the inaugural draft. The first name taken off the board came with the 7th pick in the 2nd round when defensive end Mecky Brown was selected to the Tampa Bay Bandits. The Tennessee State product spent his first 3 college seasons at the University of Alabama, transferring to TSU, racking up 45 total tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 4.0 sacks over 2 seasons. With the 2nd pick of the 4th round, the New Jersey Generals grabbed another defensive end, this time from Jackson State and Malik Hamner. The former All-SWAC lineman devastated opposing offices with 74 total tackles, 15.5 tackles for loss, and 4.5 sacks in his final 2 seasons with Jackson State. Coming off the board in the 5th round with the 1st pick, Chidi Okiki, offensive tackle from Tennessee State, was taken as the first offensive lineman in the draft by the Pittsburgh Maulers. In his final season, he played a big part in the Tigers' top 20 offensive ranking in the country. The first HBCU quarterback taken off the board, Deandre Johnson from Texas Southern, was picked up by the New Jersey Generals in the 12th and final round of day 1 with the 5th pick. In 11 games for the Tigers, Johnson threw for 1,926 passing yards, completing 60% of his passes, scoring 10 touchdowns while adding 187 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Tennessee State and Texas Southern both tied with 3 selections in the draft, followed by Mississippi Valley State with 2. The league will see 8 teams playing in a 10-week season and will be broadcast on Fox Sports and NBC. The regular season officially kicks off on April 16th when the hometown Birmingham Stallions face off against the New Jersey Generals at Protective Stadium and Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama.
Sticking with football, this time a controversial hiring by one of the SWAC football teams in Grambling State. Ex-football coach, Baylor football coach Art Briles has recently been confirmed as the next offensive coordinator for the Grambling State Tigers football program, as confirmed by the athletic director, Travion Scott, in a report by ESPN this Thursday. This report just comes one day removed after a Grambling State spokesperson claimed that there was, quote, no truth to this rumor, unquote. Briles will join a coaching roster headlined by head coach and former Brown coach Hugh Jackson. During his 8 seasons with Baylor, Briles went 65-37 and won a pair of Big 12 championships during a run that led to 4 top 25 finishes. Briles, 66, has not coached in a college game since he was fired by Baylor following the 2016 season after an investigation determined that he and the football staff ignored allegations of sexual assault committed by several Baylor football players.
Now, moving on to basketball. Now, we're going to get into the SWAC a little bit, but first, let's talk about Prairie View.
Yes.
Prairie View tomorrow takes on Alcorn State, men's and women's basketball here at Prairie View. What do you feel about that, Worthington?
I am excited to see both of those matchups.
I agree.
I've been wanting to be on the desk here personally to talk about basketball for a long time, and when you look at those 2 matchups, those you can kind of, check off as both not must-wins, but definitely wins for Prairie View, both men and women's basketball. I think we talked earlier, and just looking up Alcorn State's record on the women's side, they stand at a paltry 1-13 record in SWAC play. So I think that should be an easy kind of checkoff game for the Lady Panthers. Obviously, you're in a difficult conference, SWAC conference, that anything can kind of go. But for the women, I am expecting an easy, quick and easy win. If I had to go with the score, I should say maybe it's a 20-point blowout, but who knows?
Should be. It really should be. Now, I was looking at the stats. They played on January 17th, and Brittany Garner, she has to dominate this game. Alcorn State's tallest player, 6'1", 6'2". Garner is coming in at around 6'5", 6'6".
That's a matchup.
Last time they played, she put up a devastating double-double. I mean, 21 points, 12 rebounds. She was a beast out there. And for Prairie View to win by that comfortable lead, they not only need that production from her, but they also need it from Kennedy Paul and Diana Rosenthal.
I'm glad that you mentioned Diana Rosenthal.
Yes.
I was kind of surprised when you said, Brittany Garner was, pretty much manhandling them, and then, not even mention Diana Rosenthal, who has, basically had quite the season with the Prairie View A&M Lady Panthers being, by and far their leading scorer and the kind of the cog to this machine. But, when you get her going, but you get all these other people, you mentioned Brittany Garner. I think, did you or did you not mention Kennedy Hurd? Just like people like that. Kennedy Hurd, once you get, Rosenthal going, but you add all those pieces, not even just looking at this game, not just looking at Alcorn State, but, going even further beyond in just a few weeks to that SWAC tournament. This is going to be a team that when everything's going right, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with, and hopefully they win the tournament and get that NCAA bid and go to the NCAA tournament. But let's kind of switch things up and go to the men's side. We didn't talk about them.
For me, men's basketball, I have some stats right here.
Yes,
now, I think for this game, it's going to be a battle of trios, For Alcorn State, they have a devastating, very highly efficient trio. And Keandre Montgomery, Justin Thomas, and Linnell, I really don't know how to pronounce his name. It's kind of confusing. Linnell Thomas, they all put up 10-plus points a game. And that's not, they do more than scoring, They also, Thomas leads the team in assists. Montgomery leads the team in rebounds, and they are highly efficient. And, I noticed another thing. Montgomery, he comes off the bench, so it's not like he's just like the overwhelming star player. He comes off the bench. He's kind of, to me, seems like an energy guy. And for Prairie View to win this game, it's going to be on the defensive end, Prairie View, we are a very high-scoring team, We put up the second in the SWAC. But at the same time, we allow 77.3 points per game. And that's just not going to cut it sometimes. That is the second most allowed in the entire SWAC. So for this game, it's going to be about shutting down that trio, both on the offensive end, kind of taking them out of the rhythm.
Yeah, and I'll kind of leave with this question before we go to break. Who do you kind of see as that breakout kind of impact player, that X factor for the men's in their game tomorrow against Alcorn State?
Honestly, I feel like it's going to come down to Jawan Daniels. And now I know everybody always says, oh, Jawan, you know, he's like the overwhelming star player. And I say this not because like he's just the overwhelming star player, but his matchup with Montgomery is going to be big time tomorrow. You know, they're definitely going to guard each other. I know they're probably going to bump heads a little bit. They're the same size.
Yeah.
They kind of play the same way in the sense of, you know, shooting. Two big guys, 6'8", 6'7", handling and stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like they definitely gonna bump heads, go to head, but it's gonna come down to him. You know, he has to get going. When he struggles, I've noticed that Prairie View struggles as well. So when he picks up his 15 points per game on good efficiency, that should put Prairie View in a good state. So I say it's gonna come down to Jawan Daniels, both on the offensive end and the defensive end.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick. For me, my impact player would be Jeremiah Burrow. He is kind of just, you know, coming to his own, really kind of a surprise. I'm guessing, you know, for the, you know, people that watch Panther basketball and also, you know, to, coach for the men's basketball too, you know, being the two-time SWAC player of the week, you know, has been putting very efficient, good numbers, you know, 20-point plus points, you know, every single, you know, game in these last few weeks. So to me, he's that impact player. If he goes off, maybe he scores, you know, 30-plus odd points. That's great for us, and especially going into that SWAC tournament with 3 games left, you know, middle of the pack. What I would say, we're not going to win the regular season tournament, but we're that team that no one wants to face in the SWAC tournament.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'll leave you with that.
Prairie View is going to be very hard to beat in the tournament. You know, it's only 1 game, and this is a team, you know, they dropped a couple games, but don't get it confused. This is a team that has won championships.
Yeah.
Headlined by like Daniels and Gambrell. This is a team that people really don't want to see in the tournament. I mean, when they lose these games, they're losing by 1 point, people.
Yes.
It's not like they're out here getting blown out. They are losing by 1 point. They're having highly competitive overtime games. They're competing. Coach Byron Smith, an excellent coach, somebody that I personally look up to. He's always on their tail out there. He is screaming and yelling, and that's just the sign of a good coach. So I say that Prairie View, you know, nobody wants to see them in the tournament like that. You know, they have good defense. They're well coached. They actually make a lot of rotations. You see most teams only go about 8 deep in their rotation. But Prairie View, I mean, it's dang near 13-man deep team. You got Coach Byron Smith making subs like that. So,
if you're not playing well, he'll sub you out.
He will sub you out in an instant,
indeed.
man. And that's just a good coach. So I say nobody really wants to see him in the tournament. They can sneak up. I personally believe, I'm calling it right now, I think they're going to go all the way to the championship at least, because this is just a team that is hard to beat. It's just very hard to beat.
Bold prediction, well, you know.
Yeah, I always got to root for my Panthers. Well, coming up next, we'll hear from the SWAC Championship and St. Kitts and Nevis goalkeeper Quinn Josiah. We'll be right back after the break.
Hello and welcome back to Panther Sports Zone. Joining us today, we have PV goalkeeper Quinn Josiah. Quinn, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. So just to kind of like start us off, You know, just a few weeks ago, I believe that you were selected to the national team of St. Kitts and Nevis. So I just wanted to ask, how do you feel about being selected to the national team once again?
It was great to be called up again to the national team. It's been, I think, about 2-3 years since I've last been called up. So it was great to get that email to be called up and be able to play with the team again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So for my question is, you know, I'm not really a soccer guy, you know. So soccer actually kind of interests me a lot. So I wanted to know about your coach's impact on you, not only as a person, but mainly as a player.
My coach at PV?
Coach Corvello.
Corvello, yeah. She's definitely allowed me to be more confident with my abilities. She lets me play my game the way that I like it, which has given me so many opportunities to play and get playing time at the school as well as with my national team.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and kind of still continuing on with that national team, you know, I saw the results from this week and this past week that y'all split games, I believe, against Costa Rica and Curacao. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, how do you feel about this team kind of like going forward as you continue CONCACAF, right?
CONCACAF, yeah.
CONCACAF, so that's how you pronounce it. It is a funny word to me.
Yeah.
CONCACAF. Does not roll off the tongue. But anyways, yeah.
So basically, like, how the tournament works is we had 2 games this time. So we played Costa Rica and Curacao, and then in April there's 2 other games, and we played Guatemala and another team. And unfortunately, we lost our first game against Costa Rica, but it was good that we were able to come back and win our second game against Curacao. And it was a great experience, and it was great to play with the team again and see the girls and everything. Yeah.
Nice.
Now, keeping on the topic of you know, tournaments, I know last year y'all went to the NCAA tournament. How would you compare 2019's visit to the NCAA tournament and last year's? Does it similar in any ways?
I think it was definitely similar. They were both great experiences. Obviously, we played 2 different teams, which I felt like they were at similar calibers, but they were 2 completely different teams who I believe had different styles of play. But ultimately, they were both like great experiences, and it was great that we were able to win conference and go to the NCAA tournament again.
That's very good.
Nice.
To you.
So kind of let's talk a little bit about how y'all ended up PV's women's soccer team getting there. You know, the final game going up against Grambling State, you know, tying 2-2, having to go into overtime, you know, all coming down to penalty kicks. You know, it's that last one. Kalia Brown, 2019 SWAC soccer, women's soccer MVP, you know, she's going up there for that final kick. She kicks it, she makes it, the crowd goes wild, and then, like, what is your reaction as a player, just like whenever she makes that kick and, you know, y'all repeat, you know, as, you know, SWAC champions?
It was a great feeling, and it was crazy because when we won back in 2019, she was also the one who scored, like, the game-winning goal.
Wow.
So for her to be the one that scored the penalty kick was amazing, and she's one of my, like good friends on the team. So it was just really awesome that we all got to like run on the field together and celebrate like that moment together.
That's poetic.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's poetic.
Yeah.
Now, this is a question that personally I thought of. You know, I never really got a chance to, like, the gracefulness to talk to somebody from Canada. You know, Canada's always been, like, very interesting to me. So how was it like growing up in Canada? Like, when did you start playing soccer? Is there any other sports that you were playing while you were growing up in Canada? Just tell me about that experience.
Okay. I started playing soccer when I was about 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, at first, it's just kind of like your parents throw you in sports. At least mine did. Like, I played soccer, volleyball, basketball, dance, gymnastics, just like a bunch of things. And I guess I just stuck with soccer because I enjoyed that the most, I guess. And growing up in Canada, I'm not sure how sports are over here because I'm not familiar. I'm only really here for like school and everything. But it was great back home. We have different like development programs and stuff. So I used to be a striker, but then I transitioned to being a goalkeeper.
Wow.
And that was a cool transition. But yeah.
That's actually
Nice.
very cool.
Kind of continuing on with, you know, topic of Canada,
Yeah.
Coach Corvello, you know, she's also from Canada, and I wanted to ask, since you're both from Canada, you know, she was hired here, you know, your freshman year, 2018. I wanted to ask, you know, what kind of, you know, part did she play into you coming into and being a Lady Panther?
So basically, I was still trying to find a school to commit to for soccer. I knew for sure I wanted to play like NCAA Division I soccer. I feel like it's more competitive over here than it is like back home when it comes to like athletics. So I was training with the team, and she had came in to help coach us, and she had just gotten the new position as the head coach at Prairie View, and she still needed a goalkeeper. So, and I hadn't committed to a school yet or anything, so she asked if I'd be interested, and I had no clue what an HBC was or what, or I've never heard of Prairie View before, but I did my research, and I came on a visit, and I loved it, like when I came here. So I committed, and that's pretty much how it all happened.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now, I was looking at your stats earlier this week, and you are very, very good. I mean, props to you.
Thank you.
No problem. The very elite talent. And so I was wondering, do you plan on playing professionally at all?
I do hope to play professionally, like after I graduate. I hope to either play overseas, so in Europe somewhere. France is like my dream place to play professionally, but even if I can play in the NWSL, like in the States, like that would be great. Yeah.
So as your time kind of like, basically expired, being here at Prairie View, do you kind of like have any memorable, moments, from being here, like playing, goalkeeper?
I feel like this year, unfortunately, like I was injured a lot, so I didn't get to play much. But when it comes to the soccer aspect, my freshman year and my sophomore year were really great moments. I was like fortunate enough to be able to come in and play right away, like get some playing time right away. So that definitely helped me like boost my confidence and feel more comfortable playing like at a higher level. And I don't think there's like one moment in particular that like stands out to me other than like winning conference both times. But like I've just made so many great memories and so many, I feel like I've had very good games my freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah, I'll just have like a quick follow-up to that. Like, so I saw for like the sort of, looking over your stats that your first game as a freshman, it was against McNeese, that was a game that you lost 1-0, but I saw, in the stats that you had, 20 saves, Do you remember that game?
I remember that game.
All right.
Yeah, that game was very nerve-wracking, but I remember like I had a great game, and I was like really proud of myself, and the team made me feel very like, confident, and they gave me props, and it was just really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
What a performance.
Yeah, thank you.
20 saves is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It is.
That's ridiculous.
Nuts and crazy. Do you have any more questions, Dorian, or?
I really don't have any other questions, but I wanted to thank you for coming. Like, it's really important to get athletes. Me and Worthington were talking before the show went on air, and we were talking about, getting more athletes in front of the camera so they can not only, be in front of the cameras, their peers can, see them in front of the cameras. It's just a different feeling rather than, writing an article, stuff like that, in front of the camera stuff. So I just wanted to thank you really for coming out today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And that'll be it for today's episode of Panther Sports Zone. But you can always be sure to make sure to watch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. Once again, I'm Worthington Moore.
And I'm Dorian Waller.
Signing out.